Our first question that we have is to share your name and talk a little bit about how you spend most days of your
Hello.
life.
I'll go. I'm Jason Eldridge. I'm the technology director for Spirit Garage, and I've been coming here for since 2000, probably 4 or 5. I've been involved playing music with them, and then running some sound for them, and then doing some other things, and now I get to work for them as well. And my day job, so to speak, is teaching 5th and 6th grade science over in St. Paul. So I do that most of the time, and then I do this part of the time, and all kinds of other things other times.
I'm Ani Coyle. I am the music director. How do I spend my days? I spend my days playing music, listening to music, prepping music for worship, listening to a lot of Taylor Swift. That's pretty much it.
And I'm Holly. I'm the pastor of Spirit Garage. So I spend my days at home or here at the office or in meetings or meeting with people, pastoring. So planning for what comes next in worship and writing sermons and providing pastoral care and lots of meetings. And outside of that, I have a dog named Caroline, and she's pretty awesome. And we are doing this for you today because we know that if you're at home, it's going to be really boring during the time that we're at Pancake Church. Everybody's going to be answering these same questions, and you could take out a journal and write down your responses to some of these questions. But we thought we'd also just have a conversation among us as staff for you, and then maybe you in the chat section can chat with each other as this is happening too, to give your own answers so that you are participating in the conversation as well. Also, if you are meeting with other people and watching church with other people at home or wherever you are, you could absolutely just silence us and have a conversation with each other. That would be the best possible thing. All right, so our next question is what do you notice in this story, and what stands out or surprises you?
Honestly, if you were with Jesus and you knew him and you spent all this time with him, and then sure, he dies, gets crucified, and then you're told he's back, and you just don't immediately believe that. How is that possible? Like you've watched this guy for how many, I don't even know how many years, Holly. You would know that more than I would, but still, a sizable chunk of his life was spent watching this guy do
weird
stuff that he couldn't explain, and then he's just like, no, he couldn't have come back. There's no way.
Yeah. I wonder if the story gets more clear when it got written down, so that it's harder to understand that questioning and the like retelling or from this end of it, because as they retold it in the Gospels, it brought clarity in a way that they didn't have before or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure I would have believed it immediately if someone was back from the dead.
I mean, there is that.
I'd be like, I'm not sure about that one. But it also, if you've seen more like crazy things happen, like maybe it's more believable, but it's pretty
like
crazy.
Lazarus.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that stood out to me is that he says he needs to put his finger in his side, and that is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, besides the doubt piece, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are interesting about it to me, because like everybody else doubts too. They just had an earlier experience of Jesus where they saw him, and so somehow this guy who didn't get to have that earlier experience is like called Doubting Thomas for all of time, but he wasn't really different from the others. He just had a later experience of seeing Jesus. So
Doubting Thomas is actually just non-punctual Thomas.
yeah. Doubting Thomas was the guy who wasn't afraid and locked in the upper room. He was the one out gathering information or like living life and trying to figure out how to move on. So maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of different reads on it, I suppose, but he just wasn't there. He probably felt very left out and wondered what had
Did he think
followed.
everybody else stuck their fingers in his side or what?
Yeah, right.
Everybody else did this. I have to.
I mean, if you've got the women with their story of running into him on the road, and then the Emmaus story with them like opening scripture to him and then eating and then disappearing, and then the like, I mean, it's a lot of different stories. So it sort of makes me think about when people lose loved ones and then like start having dreams about them or whatever. And some people would just give anything to just have a dream like that, but you can't make it up. So, you know that our theme for this time is, for this Easter season, is the physicality of faith. So we're talking about all the different ways that body stuff shows up, or like the five senses shows up. So where do you see that showing up in this story?
I think that's pretty clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Holes in hands and stick a finger in. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See the marks of the nails
mhm.
and put my hand in his side. Yeah. We have seen the Lord. So they're all, yeah, it's so weird. The other thing that's weird about that is that he doesn't actually do it. So he says that's what it's going to require for him to believe.
Right, he never does
But
it.
Yep. Jesus offers probably, I don't know. What's it say? Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. What do you suppose it looked like? Like, this is like a week and a half after now. So, but he's,
I mean, it was a full-size spear wound, wasn't it? It's got to be big and probably only barely started healing on the inside.
but
I don't think they would have stitched it together, would they?
well, I'm just imagining that if you come back from the dead, some parts of you, I mean, he didn't even look the same, right? Everybody couldn't recognize him. So I'm trying to figure out like what of his body was the same and what was different, or like, did
And
he
if
have
you
like,
can, yeah, if you can bring yourself back from the dead, can you heal the wounds?
right?
Or open them up at will?
Yeah.
Like stick it in, I'll open it up.
Yeah, right. Oh, so much body.
Hope you're not eating breakfast during this time.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What's our next question? Think about a time when you were apart for a long time before seeing a loved one. How did physical touch help you connect, celebrate, or understand that the wait was over? Think about maybe the pandemic before vaccines, when you maybe couldn't hug people. I don't know. I lived alone during the pandemic, so I can remember when the first part of it started, and we didn't think it was gonna last that long. And then after the first 2 weeks were over, we were like, oh, this is going to go on for a while. And I had this like moment of panic of like, how okay can you be if you're just by yourself? And also real Thanksgiving for my dog, so that I had another being to touch. But I was just a little panicky about like when the next time would be that I touched a person. And I can actually remember like the first time I touched somebody else was not actually me touching them. It was them touching me. Was at like a protest during the George Floyd thing, and someone brushed past me, and it was very weird to me because like I'd worked so hard to stay in the back of the spaces that I was in, or like on the edges, and not be near people. I was doing all the grocery shopping for my parents, but I was like, you know, a little freaky about the space around me. So I was really freaked out by this person who like just came up and like put both hands on my elbows from behind me and was like, excuse me, and like moved me aside. I was like, like it just felt to me like, I suppose kind of like uh it's the consent thing. It felt like if I waited that long to touch someone, I should have some say in how that's gonna happen again.
When I was 20 years old, Adrian flew off, and we were not engaged yet, but close. She flew off for a semester in New Zealand.
Mm.
And I can still picture and smell and feel the airport picking her up,
Oh.
because it had been 5 months. And I can still like feel that hug, because that was really, really powerful. Like, you are back and you are here and you're not leaving again. And it was a really, really good, solid, down, like feet in the earth kind of moment where you know we did it. We got through that. So now everything's possible because we're here.
I remember my first time going home after like when I had first gone to college, like coming home for fall break, and like I called my mom every single day, but like walking into the house and like smelling my house and like hugging my mom, I was like, I'm back.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting because that's like not the same as touch, but the smell thing is a real, like our mom's houses have smells.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And apparently airports do too, that are going to take you back to those moments.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I wonder what the upper room smelled like and what they remember about that.
Depends on it depends on when was the last time they bathed.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Choose a scar on your body that you feel comfortable discussing with others. Share the story associated with that scar or what comes to mind when you see it.
I have one right here.
Okay.
It's like shaped like a Y. And my dad is a big mountain biker, and I was for a little while, but he started me young. When I was 5, we went on some like pretend mountain biking trails just behind the high school in Rosemount. And it was Mother's Day, and I really wanted to show off that I had learned how to mountain bike. So we took our bikes out, and there was this path that, I don't know, was not supposed to have bikes on it. It literally had a sign that said no bikes. And my dad was like, it's fine. Like lifted all of our stuff over this like barrier. And my sibling was like in the trailer being pulled behind my mom's bike. We're going down this hill.
Oh my gosh.
And I can remember my mom yelling, there's a retaining wall. So I forgot how to brake because I was 5 and didn't understand that there was actually a wall at the bottom of this hill. So I put my feet down in the dirt, and that didn't stop the bike. And I flew off of a 5-foot retaining wall into the middle of a road and got a rock through my
Oh
leg.
my gosh.
Ow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, mine is also a biking story, believe it or not. I'll just show you. There's a neat, you're going to be like, that's a really big scar. That's not the one I'm talking about.
Again, we hope you're not eating breakfast anymore.
All right. So yes, I've had knee surgery. There's a disease that's sometimes in my knee. But underneath that, there's other scarring right here. And that came when I was like in 3rd grade with my best friend. We used to like ride doubles all the time. And she, at least at the time, was kind of a like, she liked to push limits, and she thought it was funny if that freaked me out. And so I was on the back and we were going downhill, and she was probably joking that she was going to just close her eyes and not brake and just go down the hill that way. And I was like, "Woo," behind her. And then we took this turn really fast, and it was about this time of year, and the streets hadn't been cleaned yet. So all the gravel from the winter was still there. So we slid, and then both of us have these matching scars on our knees because of that. I don't remember lots after that. I can remember that part about her turning and us sliding, sort of, and that we had these rocks in our knees. But what I know is that I have other friends who also have memories of this event, who were not there for the accident, but were there for listening to me scream as I sat on my parents, like, I don't know how we got home, but they laid me across the kitchen counter. And then I'm not sure how much it actually hurt. What I remember is my dad telling my mom to get a needle, which was for the purpose of rolling out the little stones that were stuck in my knee. But needles are not things you want to hear about. And so I started crying really hard then. So and then other people in the neighborhood heard all of that. So that's scarred in their memory. Megan didn't bike for a long time after that.
Well, I have been thinking about all my scars, and I've got a lot. I'll keep it in the biking theme because that seems to be fun. This scar kind of shows my dedication to doing something, and then if I don't do it well, I just do it again in hopefully a better way. This is not one of those stories, though. We were camping, and we always brought bikes, and it was like my mode of transport. I went everywhere on a bike. And then I met this group of kids out at the campground, and there was this small path. I mean, maybe 20 yards between the road and then the other road that was you couldn't get around easy. So there was a path through the middle, and in the middle of that path was a large mound of dirt that we packed down and called it a jump. After the first time I fell, just slammed into the ground, and it's like yours, like there's also a big scar there from a surgery, but there's also underlying scar there from that.
Mm-hmm.
Tore it open, and same deal. Mom's got to get in there and get the dirt out.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day I woke up and felt better, and I thought, I can do that better.
That would not have been my thought.
I didn't do it better. I did it exactly the same way. I tore open the exact same spot on my arm. So I came crying back to my mother, who proceeded to tell me to not get on my bike again until next weekend.
How I can tell you, I wouldn't have wanted anyone sticking anything into those wounds so nobody's sticking any hands in my side. How do you think, or how do you think about the character of Thomas? What kind of guy was he? Where do you think he was earlier? Flesh out who you think he is and what his doubt is about.
I would take Thomas as just sort of a realist.
Yeah.
You know, him and I probably have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I got to see it to kind of believe it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just that he didn't match his group of friends.
I'm not entirely sure why he's called the twin, by the way.
Right. Where was he earlier?
I like to picture him like, walking up behind people, trying to figure out what people are saying and what conversations are happening, like, so that he can go back with news. Or did he just leave because he was feeling so uncomfortable around all these people who were talking about these weird experiences they were having? The last line is interesting because it's not far from the end of the gospel, and like that line that people talk about that as like being for us, like we are the ones who don't get to see and yet believe, and so we are somehow better than Thomas.